right, now we're recording.
So petty cash is something that
We'll give everybody a couple minutes. Well, 2 minutes. Hey, pizza. Good. So
Nobody's. No pressure though. No pressure. It's just she's gonna be training her all day, so I imagine it might be a little hard. That's something I struggle with. So.
Plus this way I don't have to shout.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think she's coming in. Whoever's occasionally will get in there. Where's my seat?
Yeah, Marina usually only comes some Thursday.
Yeah, so you're safe.
Oh, now I
It's like a legacy agent thing. It's like my people, my office.
serious.
Like
I'm
if
like,
you-
as long as I can see
I
something.
know, but it's like some of the offices are very old school, like Richmond, and they have a parking spot for like special agents. It's like, that's my parking spot. Yeah, there used to be when I was at Gables Allen office, there was like this manager spot, and then eventually the managers were floating, so they didn't have a spot because it was. So this one agent, she's a Villa Park agent, I can't even remember, Leslie. She would complain anytime that man would park in her spot. So there was like a group of us that would always park in her spot just to rile her up. And it went on for years. And she'd go, "Go back to my spot." And then we'd be like,
Oh my God. I was awesome.
yeah, good time.
Like
So-
for me, like because I read contacts, it gets dry if I focus too
Mhm.
much.
Yeah, I mean, you see me, I always either sit here, sit
Yeah,
here.
sit there, yeah, so I can see.
Yeah, we need like a bigger.
Yeah.
So what we're covering today are
What's SEO?
search engine optimization. So SEO and also SEM, which is search engine marketing. These are strategies, and it's a whole business of to get you up on higher on your Google search.
Oh.
So where it comes into play, you can actually leverage portions of your website to give you that boost by focusing on the niche areas that you're working on. So me being Mr. Landing Pages, we don't have to create landing pages today, but we are going to modify pages that are already part of the website. So let me show you something. So at the very bottom of everyone's website, you have areas we cover.
Yeah, I had a question about this. Yeah.
Go for it.
This?
You can change this, and we're gonna learn how.
Yeah, because mine doesn't say like Lake Forest or Tustin.
Yeah.
Like this seems
So,
wrong.
yeah, so the areas are culminated in like districts. So you know, the search areas we have in the MLS, you know, like, you know, Irvine west of this. So each one of those is a SEO page for your website. So like for myself, I handpicked
Everything.
no, actually, no, I did everything and it went on for it. Yeah, I mean, it took everything in the MLS. So it was like 5 or 6 pages. I don't want to show property in La Cañada, Flint Ridge,
Yeah.
or, you know, Bakersfield.
I'm good. Not going
So I went in and added these. It took a while. But the other thing you can do is, you know, by default, it just says North Tustin real estate. And then it's going to automatically show some property. Let me make this a little smaller. I don't know who was using this before, but they were blind. And then it gives you an up-to-date capture of just that neighborhood. And you know, like I'm also a hyper local guy. So this is fantastic. If you want to, if you're farming a particular area, and you could take this landing page, which has a very straightforward URL, and you could post it to social media. You could, I mean, you can print it, but I don't know why you do want to do that. But you can use this as a landing page for your specific area because the data is pulling from the MLS, so it's automatically updated. So you have, you know, average price, like all the And then as they're searching for the properties, they're going through your portal. So if they have an interest on it, it's going to flag them to give their information. So this becomes another squeeze page in a sense. Now, you can also update it. You can add to it because you can take pretty much a blog post and add it to the top section of the same thing. So this is the same area, but I've added a picture and I put in some information about North Tustin. SEO looks at photos, videos first, but it's also going to look at your text. So if you have a page about North Tustin, talking about North Tustin with North Tustin listed probably about 15 times, this is like SEO gold because Google's like, well, this must be a North Tustin expert because that's all he's talking about. So when someone searches North Tustin real estate, you're going to be in the running above everybody else that never bothered to do this. So as far as the writing, not everybody is a writer. We have to write, property descriptions that may go to the extent of our rating abilities for some of us. You can, certainly borrow from First Team, which this is heavily borrowed from a First Team blog they did about 3 years ago. But I went in and updated the numbers because it was saying the average price of North Tustin was $1 million. So yeah, that was 2 years back. So that's doubled. And then I also updated the sales and everything else. So if you aren't a great writer, you don't want to hire someone to do it because money's tight, you can go and, neighborhoods.com is a great resource for information because they've segmented into small areas like this. So you can borrow from them. Wikipedia, the city pages, as long as you don't plagiarize the whole thing word for word, you're going to be fine. So take that, put in a little bit of your own, panache that, you're going to know certain things about different areas that the public may not know. So add those. You could add, things like best places to eat, where the sports parks are, what sports that they have for adults or kids, all those things. So just think of yourself as a tour guide, and what you would write was this, like, you're at an open house, they ask you, well, what's the advantage of living in Woodbridge? Well, we have 2 lakes, we have, interesting architecture, we don't look sterile like the rest of everybody, things like that, but in a probably better descriptive manner, but you get what I'm saying. So in here, and then I talk about two top, there's far more than just Lemon Heights, Count Heights, you have Panorama Heights, you have, other areas, but that's kind of what I focused on because then it plays into the properties that are available. And what I found was interesting in North Tustin, there's a whole separate group for all the custom homes in North Tustin. So it's a very small smidgen of homes, but if you wanted to just focus on that and be the, number one, you could do that very easily. And again, they click on any of this. This is on your website, so you're going to generate the lead to yourself. Now, one of the things that I did that I'm probably going to redo is in the text, I had a hyperlink, and it goes to a site that marketing created, and I think it looks pretty cool. But now I've taken them from my agent website, and now I've put them on the corporate website, which has the corporate chat bot, which is there's a whole other department that's going to be doing this. But I wanted to show you, yeah, I hyperlinked in the site because I like how it looks. So what I was going to do was figure out how to do this on the kvCORE site, which I haven't done yet because I haven't had a chance to talk to Kaylee. But I thought this was pretty nice looking. It's the same information as the other page. It's just put together in a different format. Another thing I was going to do, it's kind of weird. I was going to do that, but I'm not going to teach you. You could do a screenshot of this, and you could add the photos from this into your blog. So I think that's my plan B. If I can't get access to these pages through the kvCORE portal, then I'm just going to borrow, because you can borrow assets from the company because we're all First Team. But how I got to that was there was a hyperlink in the actual blog, which we'll get to. I just wanted to show you the visuals before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything. Okay, so to go and set this up, we want to go into first place. And then we're going to go into tool logins, and we're going to go into kvCORE CRM. And then right now, if you're going to do it with me, you're welcome to do it. You don't have to. I'm also recording this so you can review this later, as always. Think of an area that you'd want to do this on, because obviously it's going to, I want to do about 20 and it's going to take me several hours to do so. And I have about 15 more to do. You can think of what area you want to work. It needs to be an MLS area that indexes there. And then think of a photo. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a photo of a property, but it should be interesting. So either like community center, sports park, or you in front of a property, you could do that as well. You know, it's a good way to put your face, you know, in front of the client. So think of that picture. You may not have it yet, but in the interim, you could always add it later. But I'll go through the process of adding a picture to the blog, because the way that I created that was simply going to the blog section, writing a blog, and then we copied the HTML code from it and then put it into an area into kvCORE that replicated the whole thing for you. So you don't have to learn coding, but there's going to be some copy and paste. Tools library, because if you click on kvCORE, it doesn't go to kvCORE, and then now we go to kvCORE. The new internet's actually faster. It's a good sign. Okay, so we're going to go over to our there we go. Go to website content. And once you go to website content, you should see my website IDX. Click on service areas and SEO. And then as you can see, I have the ones that I've done that are in here. There's a button here if you want to start from scratch, which be wary because it will delete all the areas. You can hit remove all from the list, and then you can go in and manually just add the communities you're going to serve. So if you just want to focus on like 4 or 5 cities, remove them, and then you can manually go and add them. By default, I think you get like 8 or 9 surrounding areas, so like Irvine, Orange, that kind of thing. So only use this if you want to start from scratch. Otherwise, if you come up here to the add button, you can type in a community. So someone throw out a, what's an area you'd like to work, city or neighborhood? San Clemente? Excellent choice. So I'm going to type in San. A little delayed today. So as you can see, I have San Clemente Central, North, Southeast, Southwest.
How do you know what those regions are?
If you go into if you log into the MLS and do a search, it will, there's always a map that is added. There's on the page when you're doing that, it'll show you exactly where the areas are.
But I want to add all of them.
I would start with the city, and then as you get to, if you wanted to focus on certain areas, because the reason where they're segmented is, you know, over the years and obviously to this day, there's different price points. You know, Woodbridge has a different price point than West Park, and you know, so get to know them. So I would first of all, look at them in MLS, you know, see what the differences are, and then you can make that judgment as to if you want to add all of them or individually. You can also too, if let's just say that area that you are farming isn't in the MLS by itself. So like in Orange, we have San Diego Hills, we have Serrano Heights. They're not their own index in the MLS, but you could make a duplicate of orange several times, and you could just put in your verbiage and your pictures for the individual community. So again, part of it is having the ability to use the kvCORE indexes and, you know, the stats of what's going on in that community, but it's your text and your photos above it that give you the SEO juice that makes you prominent in that specific area. If that makes sense. Okay. So like, I'm just going to click San Clemente. So it added San Clemente. So if I type in search down here, here's San Clemente. So just to let you know, there's a keyword section, but keywords have had little impact on SEO. I mean, it's been 5, 7, 8 years. So I wouldn't waste your time with that. The display text, this is what you can modify. So again, if you're in a community and you want to maybe label it as a smaller community within that city, you can do so by changing the display text. So I'm not super familiar with San Clemente, but think of like a huge like gated community in San Clemente. You could name it that, and even though it's not focused on just that area, it's still going to give the relevant information about the city. So it's still relevant. And it may actually spark some conversation where they'll ask you, hey, what is the market in this particular area? And then at that point, you can go to the MLS and either do a geographic map around it to give the stats for just that community. The main part we're going to focus on here is the second field. It says page text. So this is where we're going to paste our HTML to create that page like I showed you that I did in North Tustin. So we're going to bounce over to blog. So you may not know this, but everybody's first name website has a blog component. It only pops up once you've created a blog. So from the page itself, go to the right website here. Under your agent, blog will pop up underneath testimonials. But if you don't see it, it's because you haven't created a blog yet. But the moment that you do, and even if you delete it, it's going to add that component to it. I'm going to click on my blog because I've done blogs because I did some of the areas. So this is one I did for Villa Park. And then here is the one on North Tustin. So again, the blog itself has its own URL. So if you wanted to share your blog post, you could do so as well. But in my manner of thinking, I think it'd be more valuable to share the custom area that you made because it's going to add the marketing, the stats of the area underneath your blog. So unless you're a really good blog writer, I would do it from the other area rather than directly from here. But as you create these, the end user could go to your blog and look at this as well. So the two go hand in hand.
How do you create a blog?
Good question, because that's what we're going to do next. So to create a blog, we're going to go back to kvCORE where we were, and we were at site content. So we're going to click blog. You're going to go over to the right, click add post. And then let's just do San Clemente because we started that one. Keyword needs batteries. And because it's a blog post, what's something they say about San Clemente? Don't they have like?
Their politics are really weird right now.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
So like, I'm just trying to think of a tagline for San Clemente, because San Clemente means perfect weather, but that's kind of
Outlet.
outlet mall.
Yeah, outlet mall. That's good. That's fun.
Beautiful beach city.
There we go.
Yeah.
Too close to the airport.
It's not Newport and doesn't have Newport prices,
Yes.
but you're still on the coast. actually, what was it? Everything's just a little slower down there. It's nice. Like the whole pace, everyone's just like sitting on my boat. All right. So San Clemente. So this is a good one because I don't know much about San Clemente. Other than I like camping there.
A gated community named Lega.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's a little bit away from the beach, but that's a nice community.
Yeah. Let's see what's next. So I'm gonna go with just the most basic thing. So I'm not recommending you copy from Wikipedia, but I just want to show you the process of it. I leave you up to your own devices to find interesting material, but work on definitely find something interesting because everything you post, is a first impression. So if it's really boring, then they're gonna assume that you're really boring and may not click off of it and leave your page.
Eric, I heard they were gonna hire a copywriter as a freelancer.
There is a copywriter.
There is,
Yeah.
so maybe,
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Ideally you would, pick your communities and then you can reach out to copywriter and be like, hey, I need descriptions for these 4 cities and make them lively and enchanting.
So like I often look at other successful agents that have many more years of experience than me to see like how they present their content.
Yeah.
And you can rip it off in a way that makes sense for you.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, Tom Ferry produces stuff all day, every day.
it is.
Rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
You're doing R&D. Like that's just, one of his catchphrases. Like there's nothing wrong. It's information about the area.
Yeah. No, it's just funny because that was at Seven Gables, that was the code for marketing. Rip off and duplicate.
Most of the people you're going to sell to live or are from there. So they know the stuff, right? It just, how do I say it elegantly? I'm not from around here, so I have to do a lot of this kind of research of like, okay, what does it mean over here versus over there?
I don't like that. That's 2. Here we go. City pages that have a little bit more colorful verbiage. There we go. And like for instance here, if you wanted to learn about the neighborhoods, you could go click here and find all the different communities. Here we go. So I'm gonna grab this because then we're gonna go back over to kvCORE. And this is our blog post again. Paste. And then I want the picture. Probably can't steal that one. So then I'm going to go Google San Clemente again. See if it'll let me grab it. Oh, wow. Nice. Hold it open. Kind of small, but we'll go with it. So back over to the blog post. This icon right here is to insert an image. So I'm going to click insert. I'm going to go to upload. I'm going to browse. And now I have it in my downloads here. And it'll bark at you if the picture's too big or too small. Didn't do it. I think it's too small. Let's try it one more time. Oh, you know what? Nope, it doesn't like that. So let's go find another picture. That works for me. Save image as iStock photo. Back to our blog. Browse for an image. Click iStock photo. As soon as it does this source thing, you know you're good. It knows the dimensions, so you hit save. And see, now I have it on top there. So we're going to. It's easier for me to move the text. This is kind of a rudimentary text. Text editor. And I'm going to hit publish now. There is a way to embed video into it, but that's a whole nother lesson that I don't want to do today because it's very involved, but it is an option. So ideally, if you did a video
Okay.
in front of your community,
It's
that'd
really
be a nice place
interesting.
to put it. 'Cause you'd be like, hey, welcome.
It's really
my name is
interesting.
so-and-so.
I can't use those headphones. They hurt my ears.
Community, any
You guys go there.
questions and need some referrals to the best place you can shop and all that.
Give me a big wave.
Then,
How's it doing?
so now that we've done
For fun?
the post,
Who wants to go next week?
it's going to show up down here in the list. So you have a couple buttons here. So this is going to, one is
Jesus
copy, and then one actually will launch the page. So we want to launch the page to make sure that it looks right, because sometimes your text won't line up and it'll look skewed, but we're good here. And then what's nice is that it puts your face and your tagline underneath every post. So every post you do, they know that you did it. And then off to the right, they can go search for property in that community. And again, because this is all on your web page, this is generating leads for you. So now that we know that our page is good, we're going to go over back to the blog section and kvCORE under blog, and we're going to hit edit. This is the fun coding part that you're going to learn to do today. So you're going to click on the two little, what do you call those? A greater sign, greater and lesser sign, little guys. Yeah. So click on that. And now you have the source code. So you're going to copy all of it. If you know HTML, you could, mess around with this a lot. You really want to customize things. But now that we've copied that, I'm going to say yes, because I don't need to change anything. Now we're going to go back to site content. And then we're going to go to service areas and SEO. And then San Clemente is still there waiting for us. So we're going to go into where it says page text, and we're going to paste all that code into there. And we're going to hit save. So what that's going to do is not work, of course. So let's hit it again. Okay, let's refresh that. Sometimes you have to be patient with kvCORE. So I'm going to go search for San Clemente again. So now we've embellished our area page with our blog. And then underneath it, it's going to show all the active real estate. That'd be a nice commission. And all your stats, 320 listings, 12 new, 104 reduced. What does that say? Tell you 10 open houses, 1 foreclosure. And then average. So it gives you all these great stats, and then market health. And then you do have a map where you could zoom in. So it gives the end user a lot of stuff to play with. The more they have to play with, the more time they're going to spend on your site, and it's going to increase your chances of capturing the information and them going to kvCORE, and then you run after them. So this is while video and all the other things are important, it's pages like these that are going to help you generate the leads, because now you've given the end user something to play with, spend some time with, to get indoctrinated with your website and want to go back to it. I mean, granted, they're still going to use Zillow and Redfin, but if you get them here either by a post, or let's just say you run a Facebook ad to drive them to this, they're still going to spend some time here because there's lots to look at. And then once you do that, if you go to website. On the internet, you can do it. All right. Areas we cover. Where was so here's San Clemente. And there we go. So whether they click on the bottom of your page, whether you shared a link, there's multiple ways to get to these pages. And then of course your blog.
I was just typing in a couple different things, and it gives you the option most of the time for like I type in Tustin and it says Tustin the area, and it says Tustin the city. Is the area a broader space than the city,
Sometimes
or like?
sometimes it broadens out. The city will do city limits and the neighborhood may go outside of it. So I would look at both and then determine which one you want to use.
Yeah.
Or you can, and then keep in mind as well, you can label them whatever you want. You can have duplications of the same city and just give it different names if you're trying to drill down into separate communities. And then also while we're in here, this doesn't have to do exactly with the pages, but through here, you can go and mess with your testimonials. You either turn them off, you could add them. And then you can also update your Zillow reviews. So if you haven't done this already, I know I went over this in the class way back when. Your Zillow profile will have a nickname, whether it's one that you chose or it's like a bunch of numbers and codes. The way that you would find that would be Zillow. So here's a different Eric Duncan, but see where it says user 68970. That's usually the default Zillow number. So you want to make sure you plug that into your Zillow settings, because what that'll do is in everywhere your testimonials show up, like under testimonials, and then also at the bottom of the page, there's a section that your Zillow reviews will be side by side with it. So it looks something like this. Yeah.
Why does it matter what, like, since I have San Clemente delete all my other ones,
Mhm.
does it matter if you have a bunch of cities, or does it just show people they're looking for those areas you serve?
It does a couple different things. So one, it's going to show the areas that you serve. So if you have more than what you deal with, it's probably better. Also for SEO purposes, it will tie you into those communities, not deeply unless you spend a lot of time blogging about it or adding things to it, but it will help you in the long run. To
How
have,
many like blog posts can you have on your page though? Like if you, let's say you wanted to do 1% Clemente, Laguna Beach, Data Point, Newport Beach,
Yeah.
like, does it ever stop or like?
I think the limits would probably far exceed what we would ever do.
But are they all kind of like, does it just get smaller and smaller next to each other?
No, they just become like, I added all of them one time just to see what it would look like, and it's like half the page.
Okay.
So I think from an end user or UI standpoint, less is more, because you have 300 communities, they're going to get frustrated and click off.
Right.
So I would say definitely have the communities that you want to work in, but also add surrounding communities and then throw in some coastal, just because, some people don't know what they want, and some people have more, they can afford more than they think. It's rare, but we do find them every once in a while. And yeah.
Sorry, and then I got lost if I couldn't figure out how to flip a image in here. So in terms of accessing this information, where do we find the recording?
So good question. So all the recordings are going to be, where we go. You go to bit.ly, so bit.ly, and then F team, first team, Tech Tuesday. Yeah. Or if you want to do scan the QR code, probably be easier. So I have a unlisted YouTube channel that's just for us that you can go to and watch all the videos going back to the first one.
Perfect. Thank you.
The last 2 lessons aren't in there. They'll be uploaded sometime tonight. And there was 1 or 2 that disappeared because we were originally using Dan's Zoom and something got lost. So, but those were like months ago.
Do you upload these every time then? Do you-
Yeah, usually I'm behind on 2 because I wanted to change up a couple of things, but almost all of them are in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I need to go check the loop to make sure that the lesson plans are in there. If they're not, I'll get them added. And then I do have a guide for this that I can, I'll include also in the loop. It's kind of the step by step.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I can say it's been very useful to actually utilize this.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like 10 years ago, everybody was like, you have to blog, you have to blog, you have to blog. And then everybody got inundated because it takes time. It's time consuming. You know, I've been trying to write a book for 5 years and I can't get enough focus to keep running it. So I'm like 3/4 there. So, but you know, if you think of a blog just as a tool for SEO, copy and paste, put something together, throw some pictures on, and you know, do it for 5 communities that you work in. You're going to be that far ahead of everybody else.
No one say anything that we copy pasting thing or no.
You use discretion. Like if you go to like a top producer site and you pull the whole thing and put it, you know, exactly, I wouldn't do that. But you can find, you know, maybe it's a paragraph from the city page, maybe it's a paragraph from another blogger. Yeah, just piecemeal it and, you know, put your own flair on it if you have some colorful writing, and then leave it at that. It doesn't need to be a huge, you know, 1,000, you know, word document. It's, you know, basics about the city, what's great about it, what draws people to it, where do people spend their time. You know, these are all things that we know about the areas that we work in. So it's just a matter of expressing that. And the only thing I would say is, even though repetitive writing is a little bit annoying, try to repeat the community name multiple times in the blog. Like in North Tustin, I think I did it about 11 times. So it may not read right, but it's going to be really good for SEO. And then especially if you're doing a sub community. So if I'm talking about Orange, I'm also going to repeat Serrano Heights. I'm going to repeat, you know, adjacent to a park. I'm going to repeat Santiago Hills, Old Town Orange, Orange Park Acres. And then, you know, niche communities are probably the better ones SEO wise to work on, because like Orange Park Acres, I did Orange Park Acres. It's an equestrian community. There's all kinds of history about it. Let me show you. So a lot of these are just stats, but I like this part because there's Broadmoor Park, High Horse Trails, and these are outside of it, but they're established communities that don't have a lot of discussion about them. So from a perspective of someone that was interested in that community, it gives them more information that they would get from Zillow or Redfin or neighborhoods.com. And I could have added more in here. There's like some drama going on with used to be a country club, and now it's a legal dump, and so I'm not trying to get into that type of stuff. But you know, I have the schools, the communities, different tracks, and throwing a picture there.
In terms of like creating blogs, do you ever run into copyright issues with posting people's images or information?
You can. I haven't run into anybody that has, but I would just use discretion, and you can either, if you're gonna rip them off, you can give them credit for it, or just use bits and pieces. And then, you know, if you're really worried about it, you can cite your sources at the bottom of the blog, and that would make sure that you are compliant. But unless you're, you know, pulling it off of some top producer's website that, you know, paid a marketing department thousands of dollars to do it, you're probably not gonna run into that issue. But I would look at, you know, look at your stuff from public domain stuff like city page. You could borrow it from like neighborhoods.com, does a great job of segmenting everything. They have, it's only like 2 or 3 sentences, but they usually have some stuff, but it gives you like a starting point. But I think to be most successful with it is look at a number of sources and then copy and paste bits and pieces from it and then make it your own. You're welcome. Any other questions on landing pages? Okay, guys, we finished early. And then just FYI, all of the I don't know why this is popping up. Oh, wait. All the past lessons are in this YouTube channel, going back to Jason's on a call.
Guys, I don't know. That's all that matters.
I know. Just got
All the
that.
parents at hockey camp.
He's advertising.
What's this rule?
Well, let me tell you.
I'm a neighborhood expert.
Mhm, exactly. Have you seen my videos?
Yeah.